Hey everyone, it's Zach Beck. Back in March, Congress passed the CARES Act, which made dramatic changes to retirement accounts. Specifically, the CARES Act allows individuals to take up to $100,000 out of either their 401K, their 403B, their IRA, or general retirement accounts before the age of 59.5 without paying the 10% penalty. Now, this is a tempting offer that many people have taken advantage of to be able to pay their bills and get through this challenging time associated with the pandemic, but people still have time to do so as the deadline is fast approaching. On December 31st, 2020, people will no longer be able to do so. So what I want to do in this video is share with you what steps you can take right now if you wish to make a withdrawal, but also the pros and cons associated with it so you can make well-informed decisions to achieve your long-term financial goals. So let's take our time, dive into the details, and jump into it right now. As previously mentioned, the CARES Act allows individuals to take up to $100,000 out of their retirement account before the age of 59.5 without paying the 10% early withdrawal penalty. Now, if you're facing a challenging situation right now, such as having lost your job, being furloughed, dealing with health-related implications due to the pandemic, first of all, I am very sorry if that is where you are right now, but if this is something that you're finding a challenging time with, it might be a way for you to actually find some finances necessary to help you get through the remainder of this pandemic until we return to a new normal where things can open up, the economy can flourish again, and hopefully you can return to a normal state of work. Now, with that being the case, what I would say, there are a few drawbacks when it comes to making a withdrawal such as this. For instance, one of the main benefits of investing in a retirement account, such as a 401k, an IRA, a 403b, or other retirement account, is the benefit of compound interest that you will gain long-term over time. For example, if you were to withdraw $10,000 from your 401k account right now, that could be very beneficial to you right now and might seem relatively small in the grand scheme of things when it comes to your retirement. But if you factor in compound interest, 10% withdrawn right now over 30 years with an annual return of 6% actually equates $57,500 30 years from now. So what you will see is that generally speaking, the longer you allow your money to sit in your retirement accounts, the more it's going to grow over time due to compound interest. Now, I know by saying that, it's like, well, what 30 years from now, what difference is that going to make if I can't pay my bills right now? I totally understand it, and that's something for you to be able to consider based on your individual circumstances and what money you need right now. I just want to throw this out here so you understand that if you're withdrawing money right now, you're basically taking money away from yourself longer term in the future, but you have to live in the moment and you have to get through this time. So weigh those costs, weigh those benefits, and do what's best for you. Although the CARES Act made withdrawals penalty-free, it did not make these withdrawals tax-free. You will have up to 3 years to pay taxes on any of the withdrawals you take out of your 401k, your IRA, your 403b, or other retirement account if you're taking advantage of this situation right now. So the way you could actually make this work is you could divide it up to 3 years. Let's say you took out $30,000 out of your retirement account. You could add $10,000 to your tax refund year 1, $10,000 to your tax return year 2, and $10,000 to your tax return year 3. And in doing so, by including that as part of your income, you just then pay the taxes on that as part of your normal tax return. And if you want to, you can also go about it by doing one lump sum. So you could do it $30,000 all at once in 1 year. And it really depends upon what level you're going to be at as it relates to your tax bracket. So you want to be strategic about doing so. Let's say if you anticipate yourself being at a higher tax bracket 2 years from now, maybe you want to include the withdrawal earlier, or vice versa. You just have to think about your particular situation and do accordingly. What I will say is the important thing is just be aware that you are going to have to pay taxes on this withdrawal. And this brings up an even more important point when it comes to what type of strategy you're going to employ, because the other alternative you have is if you don't want to pay the taxes on this, you can then reinvest that money or repay it back into your 401k or your other retirement account. So you have up to 3 years to do so without having to pay the taxes. But if you do not plan to repay it, make sure you're paying your taxes. Otherwise, you will be hit with a large bill in year 3. So just think about going through this process. It will take a lot of planning, it will take a lot of calculating, but I would just encourage you, if you have to go through the process of this last resort of pulling money out of your retirement account to pay bills right now, make sure that you're doing so with a very cogent thought process and understanding that there are tax implications associated with it. Another point to be aware of if you are considering making a withdrawal is the effect it will have on your unemployment benefits. Now, millions of people have been having to utilize unemployment benefits to get through the pandemic because their business has been closed, they're unable to go to work because of health-related reasons, or for some other reason, it's just not suitable for them to be in the marketplace right now. And with that being the case, when you make a withdrawal from your 401k or 403b or IRA or other retirement account, that money is generally counted as income and could affect your eligibility for these type of unemployment benefits. Now, I've done a lot of research on this, and the actual issue is that it varies from state to state because the unemployment programs are designed to be issued through the state offices. So what I would strongly recommend is that before you make a withdrawal from a 401k, a 403b, or an IRA based on the CARES Act allowance, what I would strongly recommend that you do is if you have unemployment benefits right now, be sure to check with the state office, read the detailed guidelines, and understand what implications it would have on you if you were to actually go ahead and make this type of withdrawal. Now, thinking about the spirit of the law when it came to the CARES Act, my understanding is that they're trying to cast the broadest net possible to help stem the tide and allow people to have as much financial flexibility they need to get through this period. So I really hope that most states will allow you to still make this type of withdrawal while still maintaining your unemployment benefits, but that is not guaranteed from state to state. It does vary quite a bit. So take your time, research that, and understand what your specific state guidelines are if you are receiving unemployment benefits and you still want to make a withdrawal from the CARES Act based off of the regulations it allows. Up until this point, many people have been taking advantage of the early withdrawal from these retirement accounts. For example, Fidelity released numbers recently where they said up to 6% of their participants who utilize either a 401k or a 403b have taken out an early withdrawal, with the average withdrawal amount being about $10,000. In addition, Vanguard released numbers saying that their early average withdrawal rate was about $12,000. So what we're seeing is the individuals who are tapping into these accounts are not doing so and taking out large amounts of money from their retirement. They're taking out enough to basically pay rent, pay the mortgage, pay groceries, get through this time. So what we're seeing is the gravity of the situation that people are finding themselves in from a financial perspective is significant at this time. So once again, I just want to offer my empathy and compassion to you if you're going through such a challenging time right now where you're having to consider taking money out of your retirement account, but know that you're not alone in doing so, but you're also not in the majority of doing so. So from that perspective, you really want to factor in what this means for you long-term when it comes to your retirement, as well as what you're going to be doing as it relates to paying the taxes or paying this back into your accounts. Now, one other thing you want to take into consideration as you go through this general process is what other alternatives do you have? Because you might be asking yourself, how else am I supposed to pay my bills? And for me, there is not a magic bullet when it comes to this. You'll hear oftentimes people talk about the importance of maintaining an emergency fund. I talk about this frequently on the channel of trying to have at least 3 to 6 months of your living expenses set aside in order to be able to get through a challenging rainy day. Therefore, if you were in a situation where you have saved an emergency fund and have some funds set aside that you could utilize during this time, I would strongly recommend trying to exhaust those resources first before you tap into your 401k or any other retirement account. Now, it might be that you've already exhausted all of those resources, you've gone through the process, you've utilized an emergency fund, or perhaps because you were living paycheck to paycheck before this time occurred, you didn't have an emergency fund to begin with. And if that's the case, I am very sorry. And once again, I really am truly sorry that you're going through this. But if you have another avenue to pursue where you can actually take some money and allocate it towards your expenses, such as your rent, your food, you're paying for gas or whatever it is, try and do that before you tap into these retirement accounts, because once again, you want to still secure your long-term future. And by having that compound interest and having those tax advantages in those retirement accounts, that is going to benefit you long-term for sure. Another alternative you could consider when you're going through the process right now of trying to pay your bills and get through the pandemic is trying to find additional streams of income. Now, I just mentioned that you could utilize an emergency fund if you had some funds set aside, but perhaps, let's say you're not on unemployment benefits, you might still be working to an extent, but maybe your hours were reduced. Trying to find additional ways to bring in new income is something you could consider. And there are many safe alternatives out there in light of the pandemic that you can work from home and do on your computer. I recently created a video about this, talking about 5 side hustles that pay up to about $40 an hour. I'll put a link in the description for you to check that out at your convenience. That might be able to provide you with some resources and tools for you to actually go and make more money. So that way, if you're able to do that right now, it might be able to help you get by. It's obviously going to require more work. It's not guaranteed because it's a very competitive marketplace that we have right now, but there are alternatives. I just want to provide you with as many options as possible so you can make a well-informed decision that secures your future, but also allows you to get through the present. Now, when it comes to long-term investment strategies, it is super important for you to have a retirement account because that's going to provide you with the tax benefits and the structure needed to be able to reach your long-term goals. So what I just want to do is encourage you a little bit is that right now we have been through so much and you've been through so much during this pandemic, whether having lost a job, dealing with the stress and anxiety of going outside and being amidst other individuals, dealing with the context of having to stay at home, dealing with just sometimes the anxiety associated with what is happening in the world right now and are we ever going to return to normal. So it's very easy to get knocked off our kilter and understand that we don't want to think long term because it's very challenging right now in the present. But my encouragement to you is that if you can still maintain a strategy, a long-term approach when it comes to securing your finances and achieving your goals, that will provide you with more peace of mind to allow you to live more positively and optimistically in the present. And there are various ways you can go about doing this, but what I personally like to do is try and automate my finances as best as possible. By automating my finances, having a 401k like we're talking about right now is a great starting point where your employer takes that money and they put it into an account, then they actually might match dollar for dollar what you're putting in up to a certain amount. Trying to have that set up, then in addition, I'd recommend if you have the opportunity to do so, put money into a Roth IRA. Then if you have the opportunity to do so, open up a brokerage account, maybe with someone like Wealthfront or WeBull or Robinhood or Acorns or anything to that extent that allows you to begin saving money. Now, I just want to really stipulate that I'm not a financial expert or a financial advisor in any way, shape, or form. I'm just telling you the strategies that I'm employing right now to be able to get through this process, but also to secure financially my future long term. And I believe that if you stay with it, you will find the benefits. Now, most importantly is that you are safe during this time, that you are secured during this time, that you are able to get through this moment right now. So if this CARES Act 401k withdrawal can allow you to do so, I hope that provides you with the opportunity and flexibility to have more peace of mind right now. But if you decide not to go down that route, just make sure that you're doing everything you can to continue to pursue long-term what you need to do. And for that matter, even if you take money out of your 401k right now, it doesn't mean it's the end of the game. It just means that you had to make a little modification and basically call an audible right now to get through it. So with all that being said, I just hope that this information is relatively helpful for you as you're trying to plan out your long-term objectives while still getting through this present moment. And as a reminder, you have until December 31st, 2020 to be able to withdraw money out of your 401k, your 403b, your IRA, or other retirement account associated with the CARES Act. So if you're going to take advantage of this opportunity, be sure to do so very quickly. With all that being said, I'd like to thank you for watching the video today. If you wouldn't mind, please like the video. That would really help the channel out for the YouTube algorithm, help push this video to other people who might need to hear it. In addition, if you have any questions, please comment down below. I'd love to interact with you, do any research for you, and help you make well-informed decisions moving forward. You might have questions specifically about what state rules there are for your unemployment benefits, what the CARES Act language specifically says. I'm more than happy to share more of that information with you in the comments. Lastly, if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe to the channel. That would mean a lot to myself personally, as I do everything I can to create content that makes a positive impact in your life by encouraging you and myself to lead lives of meaning and purpose, all while maintaining balance and moderation. And if you do subscribe to the channel, please tap the notification bell. That will notify you every time I post a video, which I do on a weekly basis. Once again, I'd like to thank you for watching the video today. I hope you have a wonderful remainder of your day. Talk to you next time.